Hello there. Yesterday I was playing round 4 in this Lichess4545 online league, and well, I want to show you my game, and I think it had some very instructive moments. So without any further ado, let's go to the game. Okay, so my opponent played English opening, c4. I was kind of expecting it. He sometimes plays c4, sometimes he just plays knight f3, but okay, nevertheless I decided to respond with knight c6. Okay, it's a little unusual response, but it's a legitimate move. And it's interesting, there is even a whole chess community out there who are committed to respond with knight c6 to anything white plays on the first move. There is even this book called The Dark Knight, which advocates this approach. But of course I didn't read that book, and I'm not part of that community. I just think it's fun. And it's good to be out of the book of move 1, because I don't suppose many c4 players counter this kind of defense. So at this point I'm out of the book and he's out of the book, and we can just play chess. Okay, so the opening continues. I will not spend much time on the opening, it's just a logical sequence of moves. So knight c3, e5, putting the pawn in the center, knight f3, I develop my knight, knight f6. He wants to fianchetto his light square bishop, which usually is the plan in the English opening. So bishop b4. Okay, this move could be argued. Maybe bishop was better somewhere else, but I think this is a good developing move as any. And this is also in the spirit of Chigorin, when you play knight c6. It's a little unorthodox because you block your c-pawn. And then usually you want to exchange your bishops for knights and so on. So I think this bishop b4 move is in the spirit of this defense. Bishop g2, fianchetto, and I castle, he castles, d6. Okay, with this move d6, I told this bishop that I don't care much about him, because his fate is probably just to capture this knight. Now coming back here, he can be chased away very easily. So, okay, I committed with d6, and now even if this dark square bishop is gone, I still have my light square bishop, which is a strong bishop in this position. You can notice that my pawns are all on the dark squares, so my light square bishop is a strong bishop here, and also I need to have my light square bishop in order to counter this very strong bishop on g2. So I can counter either by playing d7 c6 or just b7 fianchettoing and so on. Okay, this is first critical moment in the position. He plays d4 now, so he wants just to bust open the game, and well, the opening stage is obviously over, and we are ready to have some fun in the middle game. I was thinking how to respond to this move. There are several, I think, reasonable responses. Well, I saw later that engine prefers bishop takes c3. This was one of my considerations. But okay, I just went for his challenge. I took the d4 pawn, and I was wondering, okay, maybe I can get the semi-open file with my rook here, and okay, my knight is here if need be, and this looks reasonable. He took with his knight, of course, knight d4, and now I play this, well, very dubious move. I just overcomplicated the situation. So in this position I should go for something more simpler. So maybe even take the knight immediately on d4, or just take his knight on c3, and thus doubling his pawns here. So I think this bishop takes c3 is the most straightforward and the most simple move and solution in this position. So this bishop is going down, and anyway, so his fate is, like I said, is to grab this knight, and this will double the pawns, and this will be a good classical move. But I don't know why I didn't play this move. Instead I went for some complications, and I played knight a5, which is, well, a poor move as it turned out. Okay, so I am now attacking this c4 pawn. He cannot defend it because then his knight is hanging. So the only way he can defend the c4 pawn is by putting the queen on d3. And this is what he did, of course. And now, well, before I play this a5 move, I had some ideas of going c5, then kicking his knight away, and then maybe bring my knight back to c6, and well, I got, I don't know, I got some space, I guess, but on the other hand I have this weak backward pawn here on d file. So by playing c5 I really get this weakness on d6, so I'm not sure about that. Well, I guess I didn't mean that this d6 pawn will be such a problem. I thought that this pawn can be defended somehow. Okay, anyway, this was a bad decision to play knight a5 here. No justification for it, it's just unnecessary complications. So this is the first lesson I got from this game, is not to complicate things without a clear purpose. So if this move would, for example, win this c4 pawn, then it will be justified. But here in this position, I should just go and play simple chess, so something like this. But okay, the move was played, so he played queen to d3, of course, and now at this point I realized that c5 doesn't work for another tactical reason, because now he has knight to b5, and suddenly he's double attacking my weak backward d6 pawn. So this is out of the question to play c5, and it was not until now that I saw this. Okay, so I had to do something else, and I was thinking that this bishop is, well, my worst placed piece here, only undeveloped piece, and it is bound to protect this b7 pawn. So I wanted to somehow free this bishop, or maybe even put it on b7, and then counter this very strong g2 bishop. So I played rook b8. Now I'm protecting my b7 pawn, and this bishop can go away, and I can even play b6, and now there is no rook on a8, and I don't have to be afraid of playing b6. Computer doesn't like this move. He thinks that bishop c5 is better. I really don't see why, and I think this move is okay. I'm not unsatisfied with this move, because it has at least it has some clear purpose behind it. So the purpose is to develop this bishop, or to counter this very strong bishop here. Knight c2 by my opponent. Now he's attacking my bishop, forcing me to make the exchange. I make the exchange, but now there are no double pawns because his queen is here. This is why I should have done this earlier. Queen takes c3, attacking my knight, and so my knight is coming back to c6. And now at this point, well, my opponent did something very unusual. He decided to exchange everything and to give up his bishop pair. So when I look at this position, I would say that white is much better. Although the engine evaluation is plus 1.1, for a human perspective I'd give it even more. Because you can see that there are no pawns in the center, everything is open, and he has bishop pair, and all diagonals are opened here. So with all diagonals open and him having this beautiful bishop pair, I think, well, he's much better. And well, my main concern while he was thinking about his next move and I was evaluating position was how to neutralize this g2 bishop, because this is the strongest piece on the board. It has this very nice open diagonal, and I was thinking how to neutralize this bishop, because, well, I cannot play b6 now, because then my knight is hanging. So maybe play queen here, then b6, then fianchetto the bishop to counter, or maybe to just move this knight away and then play something like this. So I was thinking about how to get out of this situation, and what to do about his bishop. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he decided to give this bishop for free. to give up his bishop pair and well, just to exchange everything and go to the end game with knight against bishop. And well, I guess this decision has something to do with the situation in the team league, because at this point he's satisfied with the draw because his team leads 1 point, and there were only 2 games left. So I think that maybe he saw that I'm higher rated than him at this moment, and I guess he was satisfied with the draw. So this is the only explanation. I can see that he was just playing for a draw here. So he took bishop takes c6, giving away his strongest piece. Of course I took back, and now he played bishop g5, wanting to exchange this bishop for this knight. And well, okay, nothing to be done here, and I played h6, and this was a poor move because it's a time-wasting move. Well, this is the way I should have approached this position. So obviously, when he played this bishop takes c6, giving away his strongest bishop, then obviously he wants to exchange everything. So he obviously played g5 in order to exchange. And if this is so, then h6 is unnecessary, because he will exchange this anyway. So this move, this time could be better spent. Computer here suggests knight, this knight e4 tricky line. So knight e4, and now bishop takes, knight takes, b takes c3, and rook takes d8. Well, in this position, black is a little better. I think minus 1.4 or 1.5. Okay, but maybe some other move would be okay also, but not this, because this is just a time wasting. I could have developed a bishop, I could have developed queen, or whatever. Okay, but I did play this h6 move, and now he took, and we exchange everything. Okay, and now this is the position, and the title of this video is Too Much Knowledge, Too Little Skill. So according to my general chess knowledge and my theory, this should be a winning position, almost a winning position for black, because especially after the exchange of rooks, we have he has knight against my bishop, and the game is on both wings. So we have play on king side and on queen side. And these kind of positions, the theory says that bishop is much better, because, for example, imagine that there are no rooks and bishop is on e6, then bishop can eye both wings, and knight can play only on one wing, and theoretically this should be much better. And I was so certain that my position was better and that I was winning this game at this moment, and well, this was a wrong evaluation, and you will see how in the later game this idea that I'm winning because I have a bishop against the knight in the end game on 2 wings will in fact cost me the game. Okay, so he played b3. I was very happy. Okay, so he has all his pawns on the light squares, and I have light square bishop, so I wanted to have my pawns on the dark squares, so everything looked good. I played rook e8 here, so getting some tempo, attacking this pawn. And again, I don't know why, it's not so difficult position, but he took more than 15 minutes. He spent almost all of his time on the next move. So if you look at the time, he has 21 minutes, I have 26, so yeah, not too different. And now he took lots of time to play this e3 move, which is good as any. He could have played maybe rook to e1, defending this pawn. I was even considering here maybe this variation, which is a bit complicated, so knight d4, protecting the pawn, and so on. Okay, and now he has 5 minutes left, so he took lots of time to make this move. And from now on he's playing in a time pressure, so you can notice his clock from now on. Okay, well, like I said, my plan was to exchange rooks, so I was playing for the exchange, and I was hoping that once we get the pure bishop versus knight ending, that I will just win the game. So I played c5, putting my pawn on the dark square, and now my bishop has many options. He played f3. I played king g7. Okay, so in this position I thought I don't want to hurry, I don't want to make any rush moves. I can just improve my pieces because everything is closed, there are no open lines in the position, so I can just try to control the more squares I can, and those two pawns were hanging, so by this move I just protected these pawns. So, for example, in the future he would attack my pawns. I have this card. He brings his king up, bishop d7 now. Okay, so I'm just slowly improving my bishop, I'm connecting my rooks, and now this bishop has this square and some squares to operate. e4 now, he's pushing the pawn, and I responded with f5, hoping that he will capture, and then I can have my bishop even more active, because then I have one square more for my bishop. So he took, I took back, and he played knight e3. So now this was his plan all along, to go to this nice d5 square, and then, well, attack lots of squares in my territory. At this point I was thinking how to dominate this knight, and well, one option was just to play bishop e6. So you know this formula, when you have two squares between bishop and the knight, then bishop is dominating knight. In theory, of course, there are lots of pawns here, so it doesn't work like that. But I was just thinking in that manner. So I play the bishop h3 with a tempo, attacking his rook, but also dominate. I have two squares between my knights and my bishop, so I'm kind of dominating his knight. I'm taking these squares. He moved away his rook, and it was at this point I noticed that my bishop cannot stay here, because this well, if he plays g4, he will just trap my bishop. So if I saw this earlier, I would probably not play bishop h3 in the first place, because now I have to move my bishop again. So I played bishop e6. He now played this rook ed1 move, which the computer doesn't like this move, but I think it's okay, because now he's attacking my d6 pawn, and he's preventing me to play c6. So c6 here, which was my plan before I played this bishop h3. So c6 is just taking away this d5 square, and now I cannot play this because he'll just grab my d6 pawn. So I had to do something, and okay, this is important now, because I was thinking like this: knight will eventually jump to d5, and what then? So I was looking what squares does knight control from d5, and can I make this knight on d5 useless? So let's look what squares does he control. f6, e7, c7, and b6. So the only square which is not covered here is c7, but I can just play rook b7 and control c7. And well, what about this these two squares? Well, it will be nice if I could control both of these squares with my king, for example. Then this rook can move away, because in this state of things, this rook is bound to protect this e7 square. So this was the idea behind my next move, f5, was to bring my king to f7, and then my king covers these squares, and my rook on b7 covers this square, and then this knight here is useless. So I complicated a lot. And now he plays knight d5, and I went with my plan, and I played rook to b7, and I'm controlling c7 now, and well, I thought that I dominate this knight now. But in fact, when I show this game to a club colleague of mine, he's a much stronger player than myself. He's above 2000 in ELA rating. So he asked me, why did you play this rook b7 move? And I responded, well, I'm now dominating his knight. And he told me, well, in fact, it's the other way around. Your knight is dominating your rook. And this is in fact true. I didn't think like that during the game, of course. But, well, a rook is much stronger than a knight, of course. So now my rook is bound to protect c7 square, and in fact my rook is being dominated by his knight. So my strong piece is dominated by his weak piece. So not a good choice. So what should I have done here? Well, the most logical thing is, okay, this knight is too strong. I should just accept that I cannot tolerate this knight anymore and to capture it. But again, this is well, too much knowledge, too little skill. I know from a theory that I should have advantage if I have bishop against knight in the endgame, which is played on both wings. And I thought, well, if I take this knight, then I have no advantage. So my advantage is gone, and I'm left with my ruined pawn structure. Because, well, this is what black got from all this exchange. He got that my pawns... well, I have double pawns. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands. He has only 2. Okay, so if I would exchange this, he would put his rook here probably, and I would have a much worse pawn structure, and well, in fact I would be losing the endgame theoretically. So this is why I didn't capture this knight, and I should have, and because well, this theory is it's a general principle. It's not carved in stone. So I should have relied on common sense more here, but I didn't. And this is also the big lesson. So not to stick to general rules and principles in these kind of situations, and always give a precedence to common sense. Okay, so well, obviously I didn't take the knight. I played this rook b7 move, and he now played rook e1. And if you remember, well, my plan was to exchange the rooks. I thought that if I exchange the rooks, I will be better, because I will end up in the pure bishop versus knight endgame, and so I decided to go and exchange. Before I offered the exchange, I played this planned move, king to f7, now covering these squares, but also covering all the possible penetration squares. And if you can see also almost all the squares on the e file which he is controlling, and very soon will control, are now covered by my pieces. So this move was multi-purpose. He played knight to f4, now attacking my bishop, and I retreated my bishop and offered the exchange. Okay. And now, well, he accepted the exchange. Rook e1, now again controlling this file, but like I said, I'm controlling all the squares on this file, so I was not afraid of this. And now bishop d7 in order to exchange. This was my plan. Knight d5 again, but now I can play c6, and he moves back. And I played bishop c8 now, because anyway I need 2 moves to make this exchange, so either this or this. So I decided for bishop c8, it just looked more convenient. He now plays h3, and I go with my plan on exchanging the rooks. So this plan was not good, especially because I was playing for a win. Like I said, in the team league, the situation was that my team was losing 1 point, so I was not satisfied with the draw here. So if you play for a win, then you don't want usually to exchange your pieces, and you want to increase activity of your pieces. So instead of this plan, now at this moment I played bishop c8 in order to exchange rooks. I should have looked for a way how to make this rook more active, and then try to play with my rook, not to exchange this. And well, there is even theory which says that when you have a bishop and the rook, that you should stick to this rook. And I didn't, I forgot that this at the moment. I didn't think in that way, but the idea is, well, the bishop only covers light squares. And now if you have a rook, then you can coordinate rook and bishop, and then rook can cover dark squares, and the bishop can cover light squares, and the coordination between rook and bishop is much better than coordination between rook and the knight. So even from the pure theoretical perspective, this is ideal situation. So okay, we exchange one rook, but I should have sticked to another. And so the best move here, or the best plan, was just to play a5 and try to break on the queen side, and then try to activate my rook and coordinate my rook with the bishop, and maybe then I would have some winning chances. So it was poor theoretical decision and poor practical decision as well. So h3, like I said, I just went for the exchange. And now we reached something I thought was well, my goal from the beginning, pure bishop versus knight ending. The endgame is played on the both wings, and this should be winning in my head. Okay, so my opponent bring up his king. I played bishop d7, so my plan was to do this maneuver. So bishop to d7, then to e8, then to f7, and then from f7 it ice this pawns, and I can dream of making this d5 push. So I don't have I couldn't do this because his knight is covering e6 obviously. Knight to d3, and okay, I could have played bishop e6 now, but I decided to activate my king to bring it closer to the center. I think it's not a bad move. He played f4 now, blocking my pawn and fixing my pawn on f5, and thus blocking my bishop. So I think this was a good move from my opponent. I played bishop e6 now, continuing with my idea. King to d2, and now king to e7. Well, my plan was now to bring my king in to protect the c5 pawn, because you can notice now I cannot push d5, because if I push d5, then I just lose my c5 pawn. So my idea was, if I could bring my king on b6 and protect this pawn, then I could make this push. So this was the idea. King to e3, and now a5 with the idea of maybe playing a4, and then if he captures, I can capture this pawn. So okay, he saw that idea, he stopped this. And well, I was happy with this as well, because all his pawns are on the light squares, and well, if I could have my bishop here, then this could become a target, and so on. So, well, theoretically these pawns are targets now because I have light square bishop. King d7, so I'm continuing with my plan to protect c5 pawn with my king, and king f3 now, king c7. g4. Now he's starting to be very active on the king side. F takes g4, h takes g4, and well, now I did my first real blunder in the game. I played king b6, now continuing just with my plan. And I didn't realize in this position that the main action is now on the king side, and I should have brought my king back to the king side and well, deal with these connected pawns here. So he has one passed pawn, he has connected pawns, his king is near, his knight is here to help, so I should have thought more about this. And the mistake I did here was something Dan Heisman calls hand waving. So when you are in a concrete position, which is very tense, with many real threats which can decide the game, then you should not rely on just on some general principles, but you should calculate concrete variations. And here I relied, when I played this king b6 blunder, I relied on some vague general principles. Well, my thought was, okay, the bishop can stop the advancing pawns, so I have this pawn and bishop, so well, in theory bishop and pawn should be able to stop two pawns. So I didn't calculate any variations, I just said, okay, I have bishop, I have pawn, they can deal with these pawns, and I can continue with my plan. And this was the error in thinking, because I was well, just making some general observation, like this is opening stage of the game and not the end game, in which one wrong move can completely ruin the whole game. And now f5 from my opponent, so he's breaking. I am playing bishop g8 now, and I'm still thinking I'm okay. He cannot advance this pawn, and my bishop has this square covered, so I thought that I could be able to stop these pawns. And now king f4, and I play this move d5, and this was the second blunder in the game, and this was a huge blunder, because I didn't realize that once I play d5, well, knight can jump to e5 and it's game over. So, well, I know the principle that each pawn move makes a weak square, and every time you make a pawn move, you should think before you make a pawn move, what squares do I weaken, and are these squares important, and can my opponent exploit these squares? So the correct way of thinking was, okay, if I play d5, which squares do I weaken? I weaken obviously this square, but this is covered because my king is here for that reason. But I also weak this square, and the knight can jump to this square and ruin everything, because now knight is controlling f7 and he can promote the pawn or win the bishop. So this was a typical blunder. I just didn't see all the consequences of my moves, and well, there is no excuse. I can say that in my defense that the game was very long. This was 2.5 hours now, and maybe I got a little bit tired, maybe I got impatient. So, well, I played this move, and I just disregarded my own advices that you should always think about consequences of your moves. And now he jumped to knight e5, and this is over. Now the computer says plus 18 here, and well, I tried something, king c7, he played f6, and now I went for this desperado, d takes c4, hoping that maybe he will play f7, and then after captures I can promote my pawn. So this is a cheap trick, and of course this, well, I have nothing to lose now, and my opponent of course saw this, b takes c4, and at this moment I realized that I cannot recapture this pawn on c4, because the knight is controlling this. So, well, okay, I was desperate, but at this moment I didn't even see that he is controlling c4. So I thought, okay, even if he doesn't fall for a trick, I can take this, and then if he plays f7, well, I can just capture, give away my bishop, and then try to fight for some kind of draw, maybe. But of course, well, he's controlling c4, so there is really nothing to hope for, and at this point on move 47 I just resigned the game. Okay, so this was it. I did lose the game, of course. I'm never happy when I lose, but in fact I was very motivated after the game, because I learned a lot after analyzing the game. I found my mistakes, and well, if I will be able to correct these mistakes I was talking about in my analysis, well, I will be very happy if I would not make these mistakes again. And I just want to make one general remark because before I close this video, and this is regarding this bishop versus knight. So I'll just go back, take a look at his time. Now he has 1 minute. Several times he was under the minute during the game, then he would got 45 seconds increment, but he's under 2 minutes. Now he has 1 minute, so he's in tremendous time pressure. Look here he's above 1 minute, so he's basically playing on increment here, and I have plenty of time. I have 7 minutes. At one point I have 20 minutes. So you can see here 1 minute, 1 minute and 9 seconds, 1 minute and a half. So he's playing on increment all the time. So how is this possible? Well, he's obviously a good endgame player. He has good endgame skills, obviously, because otherwise it would be impossible. Here he has here 1 minute and 20 seconds. So it would be impossible to play such a precise moves because all his moves are very precise and very purposeful. So he obviously knows his stuff, and he can play them in an instant. You can see here 1 minute and 16 seconds. Okay, 2 minutes. So he's around 1 minute, 2 minutes. Again, 1 minute and 35 seconds, and so on. So this is very impressive from my opponent. I really congratulate him on this game. Well, he played excellent endgame with such a time pressure, and well, what can I say? Very good job from him. But also there is another thing when you are playing against the knight, and if you are not GM and if you are not, I don't know, 2200 and have excellent board vision, then knight is a very tricky piece, and you constantly have to think what are all the possible knight moves, and especially if you have to think about his second moves. So knight can jump to one square and then can jump to another, and then you have to see all possible knight moves and all possible knight moves in the second ply, let's say. So it's very difficult, and it's very time consuming. And this is why I think that on amateur level this advantage of bishop against the knight is not so much an advantage, because you have to lose lots of time to make many blunder checks before any move, to see what are all the possible knight moves, threats, forks, and so on. And of course, once you are a GM, then you instantly see, so you take a look on the board and you instantly see the knight, you see all the possible moves in first ply, second ply, third ply, so it's not a problem. And then once you are not afraid of forks and unexpected knight moves, well, you can play an easier game. But here, like I said, on amateur levels, it's very time consuming. So take a look at this position. He has 1 minute and 35 seconds, and I have 24 minutes. And so it's huge difference in the clock. But still, I think, okay, he's obviously more skilled than I am in the end games. I don't want to underestimate my opponent in any way, but it's much easier to play against bishop, because bishop only covers light squares, and well, if you can move your king to dark squares, and you are safe. You don't have to worry about unexpected forks, skewers, pins, and so on. As long as you keep everything on the dark squares, you know that you are safe. But with the knight, it's not so. So knight can hop around, and well, it's time consuming to play against knight. So well, keep that in mind when you play against the knight and you have a bishop that well, you can either blunder or you will just lose much time. And this is in fact what happened. So several times during the game I didn't see the possibilities of the knight. I was surprised with some moves. Well, okay, so here this blunder. So finally this situation happened that I just missed the move of the knight, and I made a blunder. So this is something to keep in mind. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you'll find this useful. I did find this game useful. I learned lots of things from this game, and I have to say, from the psychological point of view, I wasn't depressed after this loss, because after I analyzed the game, I saw why I lost. I was happy to be able to learn some new things about chess. I'm hoping to apply what I have learned, and in fact I was very motivating after the game. I took the Polgar book, I solved 100 problems in the Polgar book, then I took Silman's book, I read a chapter in Amateur's Mind, and I even played 2 rapid games after this. So I was very motivated after this game, although I lost. And well, I'm happy that sometimes I can be really depressed, and this time I wasn't. I guess it's good. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. And please, if you like the video, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave your comment below, and see you very soon. Cheers.